Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Maverick here, and we are watching episode 15 of Vinland Saga. So I apologize for this video being a bit late. I'm actually a bit under the weather right now. I'm still not fully recovered actually, but I think I'm well enough to do videos right now. So I don't want to delay it anymore. It's just going to, all my other videos are going to just get mixed up together and I'll have no time to do any of them, right? So, I'll do my best, but do forgive me if I seem a little bit less energetic than usual. Not that I'm usually that energetic anyways. But yeah, anyways, back to Vinland Saga. Last episode, we had quite the heavy episode, quite the heavy contents. We see Ashlad doing some, and his group, to be fair, doing some pretty bad things, and, well, to be honest, none of the main characters did anything to stop them, right, other than the priest. So, I guess we're all in the same boat, right? Then again, I've already said last episode that, to me, given the historical context of the situation, I'm not going to change my opinion of Ashlad and company just because of what they did here, right? I fully accepted what they were, and, well, I still root for them, if you will. So, anyways, not really sure how it's going to continue on. It seemed that last episode was foreshadowing some bad things and some misfortune falling onto Ashlad and others, but is that going to be true? Don't know. Let's see within the episode. Alright, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Oh, by the way, let me know, guys, if you would prefer me to leave the opening in. I normally cut it out because I don't have much to say over it. But apparently some people would prefer me to leave it in so they can sync the videos better. Oh, we have Swain here. Hmm. For 2 days. Okay, so this is actually a flashback to what happened previously. Hmm. Oh, and here we have the opening. So again, do let me know, guys, if you would prefer me to put it in. Otherwise, just continue with how I usually do things. I'll be skipping this. See you guys in a second. And back. After. Hmm. Does England only start snowing after December? Hmm. I thought it would have started snowing a little bit earlier than that. Hmm. I thought he was still chasing them. I'm sorry, I have to drink lots of fluids right now. Uh, be content you're not dead. So the fork out in Vinland Saga, at least the way that the author has portrayed him, is really just a war crazed dude. Yeah, about the time. That means Swain Forkbeer swung back to London already, right? No. Mm-hmm. I mean, the answer to this question is already in the Bible, so. Hmm. Hmm. Oh, that resonates with him? Mm. Ah. Yep, it was her. It was her who gave out the information. And then provide provisions. Hmm. Hmm. Snow sleds. Oh. Oh. Hmm. So once doubt starts settling in. This is. All right. That is. Oh my god. Her Royal Highness? It's like, this is the first time I've had a good meal in a long time. His father was like, "You're a royal, why are you doing things like this? You should be a warrior."
忙しかったのでしょう。戦が終わったら鳥料理でも作ってお持ちしましょう。きっと喜んでくださいます。
He probably won't.
緑だ。鳥はまだ作ったことがないな。
鶏でもカモでも。以前に夜で食べたカモを覚えておられますか？
ああ、あれはうまかったな。
後で料理人にコツを聞きました。煮こごりを上手に使っておりましてな。
煮こごりか。なるほどな。
ラグナー、バカ野郎、伝令だ伝令。あんじゃ、何があった？
敵に見つかったっす。東の森で戦闘がおっ始まりました。
何？
大した兵数じゃなさそうですが、一応用心してください。
どういうことじゃ？この村に潜んでまだ10日だぞ。なぜバレた？
知るかよ、んなの。
なんということだ。村人たちを皆殺しにしてまで。
とにかくイングランド兵を蹴散らしたら移動しますんでよろしく。
だから初めからウェールズに引き返せと。
向かうのはダービー。
Come on, Ragnar, stop being so.
この後に及んでまだ敵地を進むと抜かすか。アシェラと連れてこい。今すぐだ。
今は前線で知ってます。話があるならご自分で出向けばいいんじゃないですか。案内しますよ。
たく終了が終了なら部下も部下だ。基地の聞き方も知らん。俺の月の有無を見定められんで何がノルド戦士か。今日こそ天にかけて愚かさを思い知らせてやるわい。おいおい、沖の声はあっちから聞こえるぞ。
やっと気づいたか。
Oh,
鈍いなあんた。
they're gonna kill him? Oh wow, I definitely did not think that he would die this early. I mean, we saw the scene in the opening and whatnot, but
アシュラットの命令なんでね。やるかい？俺らは構わねえけどよ。どうせ助からねえ。
アシェラとここへ呼び、大事な話がある。
遺言なら俺が聞くぜ。話せよ。
いいから呼べ。王子殿下に関わることだ。直接話す。急げ。伺いましょう。この遺言。
he's actually right nearby. Oh. Okay, this is interesting. This is really interesting.
スープが冷めてしまったじゃないか。
感謝しております。あの腰抜け王子をよくぞ今日まで生かしてください。そして貴殿の死がさらなる成長を促すでしょう。お役目は今日から私が引き継ぐ。イングランド兵に殺された貴殿の代わりに。
You know, the thing is, I actually do agree with this to a certain degree.
そくなく血の跡を引き継ぎ、何があろうと、クヌート殿下をお守りすると。何があろうとクヌート殿下をお守りし、戦士ラグナルの意義ある死に報い。ご満足か？口をしや。貴様などに殿下を託そうとは。
Mm-hmm.
ムート殿下は一方の派閥の旗頭にされておる。もう一方は
Harold, right?
兄君のハラルド様だ。両殿下のご意志など関係ない。関心どもの勝手な勢力争いだ。そして王陛下はデンマーク王国の分裂を恐れたのだろう。おそらく一つの判断を内心に出された。王殿下のうちどちらかを殺そうと。スベン王が王子を。こたび王陛下が殿下を戦場へ伴ったのは殿下を戦死させるためだ。
Huh. They're going with this angle? Alright.
真の敵は今や父上のスベン王陛下その人なのだ。亡命しろ。もはやそれしかない。ゲインズバラだ。わしの弟ダンドリオ。
Your brother?
早めに言ってくれよ。そういうことは。頼む。最後に。一目でいい。一目でかい。
He wants to take him back? Really?
ダメだ。
Wow.
一緒に鳥料理でも。きっと王陛下もよろ。
This kind of thinking is why you were killed, Ragnar. I was not expecting this kind of death at all, especially not with the opening being like that. Wow. Wow. That was a great turn of events, I must completely say. Alright, I'll be seeing you guys after the ending. Alrighty, so that was quite the interesting episode, and I feel bad that I had to delay this episode, actually. And as I was saying, judging from the opening, I did kind of get that Ragnar would die eventually, but I didn't realize that he would die this early and through this kind of fashion, right? So that completely caught me off guard. And well, here's the thing though, and I know this might sound cruel and cold-blooded to a lot of people, but again, just with the massacre in last episode, I completely agree with Askeladd's decision here. Ragnar is a bad influence on Canute here. He's being way too overtly protective of him. He's not really teaching him the correct way to becoming a king. He's not putting expectations on Canute, at least expectations that are required of this day and age and of this context of him being the next in line to the Norse throne, especially, to the throne of Denmark and potentially England here as well. And he's also being a general nuisance and really not helping morale at all, right? I was honestly secretly hoping that he would be, they would get rid of him ever since they rescued Canute from Forkel during the forest fire. I believe that was like what 2-3 episodes ago, and I was always like, okay, when can you guys get rid of Ragnar already? And so, well, apparently they did it here, right? So yeah. Again, I know this might sound cruel, and he's enabling Canute, right? Canute clearly has different priorities in his life. He has different wants. He doesn't really want to be this war king, whatnot. He just wants to, be a good Christian, enjoy life, enjoy the arts and whatnot. But unfortunately, at that day and age, being born into Norse nobility, there are certain expectations that you have to meet, right? And definitely during that time period, Norse nobility was not something as, it wasn't something as taken for granted, such as that of later European monarchs, where you could, basically be guaranteed the throne just by your divine right, and nobody would be able to say anything to you, right? You could just do whatever you want to do. At that time, Norse nobility, and especially the king of the Norse, still needed to rely on their actual prowess in terms of battle, in terms of war and fighting. And that is what you could do to get people to actually acknowledge your power and your authority, right? And, continuing to pamper Canute, because I'm just gonna say it's pampering to Canute. Say for instance this little anecdote here about him cooking, and taking the cooking to his father, the king, and then being scolded for this, right? Well, I could. Again, it's kind of harsh, right? That is his interest and whatnot, but that's just not what's expected of him, in terms of being a prince, right? If we're taking that to current day, to the modern era, then absolutely Ragnar would be a great sort of tutor or whatnot to Canute, right? But you have to always take the historical context into consideration. So, is it fair to Canute? No, but let's be honest here. It's not fair to anyone born in that era. We evolve into this current society because through all these years and, through hard work and in a lot of cases through bloodshed from a lot of people, right? And at that time, no, it's not going to cut it. Being a weak king, a weak prince here, and potentially even being a weak king is just going to cause a lot of unrest and civil war. And ultimately, from a macro level, it's probably going to cause way more death and casualties to the Danish people or the English people than what would be if he was a strong king, right? So in this context, I absolutely do agree that Ragnar, getting rid of Ragnar would do the most to boost Canute's growth, right? I mean, I'm just completely, not thinking about human lives here or whatnot, but just from a pure, very cold and analytical perspective, that is the best choice. Now, as for, of course, Ashley probably isn't doing this just out of, pure consideration for Canute, right? He has his own personal goals as well, but I do believe that overall for Canute, it is, and in the long term, good for him as well. And speaking of civil war, another thing that they did mention here is in regards to Canute's brother, right? Sweinfurt's eldest son, his eldest son, Harold. Now, it's interesting here that they mentioned that they are sort of, structuring Harold into this sort of other force, opposed to Canute, right? And maybe he's being the eldest prince. He has the most power, the most forces, and also the most prestige, if you will. And is expected to take over the throne. Whereas Canute in this case would be sort of like the threat, right? The thorn to his side, having a legitimate claim to the throne, but always weaker in power, but always, again, someone to take note of, right? Again, this kind of situation has always happened throughout history as well. It's happened a lot, especially in China as well, with the Chinese emperors and whatnot, through the emperor's various sons, throughout all different kinds of dynasties. The interesting thing here is that we actually don't know much about Harold, and he really died shortly after Sweinfurth died, who was slated to die in about a few months' time, right? And so I believe Harold died maybe a few years later from Sweinfurth's spirit, so he never actually became a threat. But I do wonder if this series is going to make him into sort of like an active enemy to Canute, and maybe their clashes is what resulted in Harold's death in the end, right? So I do wonder if they're trying to go for that kind of area, because again, since we don't have that many historical records here, the author is free to do whatever he wants. So yeah, that was my entire thoughts on, the can we say assassination? The killing of Ragnar, right? Although, again, credit to Ragnar. He knew that the best chance for, the best way to guarantee Canut's safety was in the end to still rely on Askeladd, right? Even though Askeladd was the one who ordered him killed, he still knows that, okay, for him, his first priority is still Canute, right? You know, he is loyal to a fault. You definitely can't fault him for that. It's just, well, you know, it's just bad luck, right? Bad timing. If he were Canute's tutor during times of peace and prosperity, then he would absolutely be great. But unfortunately, he was born in a time of war and conflict, and so he had to go, right? So, but again, like I said, credit to Ragnar. He does know that even if he may be stubborn in his own ways, he still knows that, okay, in order to really, take sight of the big picture, he still needs to cooperate with Askeladd here. And so he's trying to make Askeladd swear that he won't harm Canute and will do his best to protect Canute, right? Now, the interesting thing about that scene, though, is that when Askeladd was giving his promise, he didn't really swear an oath on his ancestors or anything, right? So I do wonder if, in his mind, he's like, yeah, sure, whatever, I'll just do this as sort of like a last favor to you. Maybe let you die a little bit less painful, in a certain sense. I mean, regardless of the oath, right? Let's think about Askeladd's position here. He is pretty much forced to protect Canute, right? He's basically all in on this particular piece of treasure, if you will. He's invested on this particular person. He needs Canute to, be unharmed and also be in a position to gain power, and that would also guarantee his own power, his own position, and all aligning with his goals at the very end of, potentially, if the last two episodes were to believe, the neutrality of the Welsh countries, right? That is his ultimate goal. So, he is sort of forced to protect Canute as his first priority, regardless of his oath, right? But I just want to say that potentially, I do think that Askeladd is the type of person that if there's a better chance or better opportunity, he will jump ship. And in this case, I don't think he's really being sincere with his promise to Ragnar, let's say. And I also, his last, some people might say, oh, how come he doesn't let Ragnar see Canute? But I also agree with Askeladd's decision there. There's no need to risk it, right? He's already doing you a favor by listening to your last wish, your dying wish, if you will. No, letting him see Canute for the last time, all kinds of things could go wrong, right? He could spill the beans, he could be, become under suspicion and whatnot. So, yeah, again, I agree with his decision not to let Ragnar meet, Canute at the very end there. So, yeah, there we go. Overall, again, could there have been a better solution to this? Maybe, maybe not. But definitely, I feel like Askeladd already has a long-term plan in place in terms of how he wants to utilize Canute. And so, getting rid of Ragnar is probably a piece of that plan. And in this kind of situation, if he is trying to go the way that I think he's trying to go, getting rid of Ragnar absolutely makes sense. He is sort of this hindrance to Canute in the grand scheme of things. But some interesting stuff for next episode, right? His men are starting to doubt him. Doubt Askeladd, that is. So, is he going to be able to eventually get his men under control? And also, Forcal is on the move as well. Are they actually going to duke it out one last time? Or is Askeladd going to, get himself back to meet with Swain's forces, meet up in London and whatnot, and then spend Christmas there, and so on and so forth, right? I kind of feel like we are going to still be seeing some conflict with Forcal before they actually manage to do that, and so that will be fun as well. So there we go. Yeah, those are my thoughts for this episode. Again, sorry, I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, so my speech is a little bit slurred and whatnot, and I'm a little less energetic. But I think overall, my position on this will not change. I'm sure there's going to be people that really hate Askeladd or, really feel for both Canute and Ragnar here. But honestly, I feel like it's for the best. For the Danish nation, for Askeladd, and for Canute himself as well, at least under that historical context. So there we go. That was my review of Vinland Saga episode 15. I will see you guys next week, hopefully on time instead. So until then, bye bye.